So a lot of you guys that have been watching my channel for a while or watching any of my playthroughs, you know that I like talking about the technical aspects of games, and I'm a big sucker for visuals and all the little details developers like to put into their games. And we're going to today talk about the Switch version of Xenoverse. It's something I've talked about in the past in January where, it was announced. And I thought it was an interesting discussion to figure out maybe what the port's going to be like, what kind of downgrades and compromise they were going to do, because in January the Switch was not out yet, but I felt like with all the leaks I had enough info to really kind of dive in and talk about the technical aspects. And these are the technical aspects and frame rates and resolutions of the game, and these came out about 2 weeks ago, so I don't know if a lot of people have really covered this or a lot of people have really seen this in the community or really care. This is only if you really care about the technical stuff, but I think the stuff in this is pretty interesting. So if you haven't seen my original video, I suggest you go back and watch it. I think it's interesting to see my predictions in comparison to what they are in reality, I guess, and I think I was pretty damn spot on actually for the most part with what I was talking about. With the little knowledge that we actually knew about the Switch, I just kind of, made guesses about how the game was going to perform, and I think I was pretty spot on with a lot of things I said. Right here, first things first, screen resolution. You're getting a straight up 900p in the TV mode, so when you're not in portable mode, and 720p in the tablet mode. So in comparison, on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you get a full 1080p. The one other caveat with the Switch version is it is, well, at least what it says here is, depending on playing conditions and environment, it may fluctuate temporarily. So that is a dynamic resolution for both modes there, 900p and 720, so it can go lower than 900p and 720p in both modes. And on a handheld it might not look that bad, but on a big TV, I think if you're going lower and lower and lower with the TV mode, it can look kind of rough, I would imagine, with Xenoverse. Maybe even similar to the 360 and PS3 versions of Xenoverse 1 in terms of the resolution quality, somewhere around 720p it could drop to. And they're doing that dynamic resolution, I would imagine, to maintain the frame rates they're targeting, depending on the situations. I don't think it's always going to hit those stable frame rates. Like, it's not going to be like something like Halo 5 where it's always 60 FPS no matter what. It's just dynamically raising and lowering that resolution, right? I think they're going to lower the frame rate if they have to. I mean, even on Ps4 and Xbox One, you can get some frame rate drops. So, next up, frame rate on the Switch. Normal time 30 FPS. That's a pretty big downer to me, especially considering what's later on in this technical page here. 30 FPS instead of 60. It's 60 frames only when you're doing 1v1. So, story mode, most of the time you're going to get 30 frames a second. You might not care about that. I think that's a pretty big step down. I mean, I've gone from Xenoverse 1 on Xbox to PC, and there's a big difference. And just due to the nature of the speed of the fighting, I mean, it's pretty important to have 60 frames with this game specifically, I think, because it's just a lot faster of a game than the first game. I think 30 frames you can get away with the first one, but with this it's going to be a little bit difficult. And on PS4, of course, 60 frames as on Xbox One. So this pretty much tells me only 1v1 battles are going to have 60 FPS like it says. So are cutscenes going to be 30 frames now? Because that's a little bit disappointing too. Hopefully they can get the cutscenes up to 60. Then again, going from 60 to 30 in the story mode back and forth might look weird. That's really disappointing to see that they have to drop all the way to 30 frames. I feel like maybe if they tweaked it more and optimized it a bit better, they probably could have hit a 60 frames target. But even then, again, they're not hitting 60 frames and they got to deal with this dynamic resolution thing. That's pretty disappointing and actually worse than what I had anticipated it to be. But I knew they wouldn't be able to hit a full 1080p in 60 frames. I knew that from the start. There was no way. People really underestimate how much of the power of the current generation consoles Xenoverse 2 takes, really does use up. I mean, it might not look like on the surface, but there's a lot of technical things like the physics, like the destruction, all the little pebbles flying everywhere, all the boulders tumbling around, and a lot of the lighting effects and general effects in the game. People don't understand, or they underestimate, I should say, I guess, how much that really does take out of the consoles. Obviously, it's not fully utilizing the consoles, but it does take out a large portion of their power that the Switch just doesn't have. But I still wish they could have hit that 60 frames. Online's still going to be 6 players. You can still get all that. You're going to have to get the Nintendo Switch Online pass for that, though. Of course, Nintendo has to follow everyone else with the online passes. So the local communication, which I don't know if they mean LAN or 2-player. I don't know how the LAN networks work on PlayStation, but I would assume they would support 6 players. But on the Switch, it supports 6 people, so, you know, either it's LAN or obviously you're going to have like 6 Nintendo Switches hooked up around each other. Either way, the Switch version is going to let you play locally, in a way, with 6 people, I guess. If you're really going to use that feature, I have no idea. Paid DLC, we get absolutely no DLC with the Switch version at all. You have to buy it separate. I hope it's not a full $60 when it releases. I hope it's not even $50. It better be somewhere around $40, maybe $30, but I would expect $40 would be a fair price if they're not including DLC. The game's, you know, it's well over half a year old now, so it dropped on the other consoles. So I would assume it wouldn't be a full $60 when it comes out. Here, interesting note, something else I mentioned in my video talking about this originally, effects and objects, partial change from PS4 version. No idea how partial it is. I saw in the very small little, there was a little stream of them playing on Switch, but the box for the game was so small that you can't even really tell what the visuals are like. It's so bad, the quality's so poor on it. But in that little box where they show the Switch version, when you know you power up and you see all the pebbles fly around you, they look like they were disappearing a lot faster than in the Xbox One and PlayStation version. So they might cut down some of the physics-based stuff, some of the destruction. You might not be able to, you know how like if you blast walls and stuff, you can see rocks pouring out of the walls and, you know, landing on the ground. Maybe that's going to either get toned down or taken away. Some attacks might look worse. I have no idea exactly what that means, but they're going to be downgraded in some way. It says partial change. I can only imagine that means downgrade, not upgrade. So, and other hardware things, you can screenshot. You can use the Joy-Cons to do a 1v1. You can use them to pull off ultimates and stuff like that with the motion controls. I don't know anyone that's going to do that in a serious gameplay sense, I guess. No one's going to play online like that, right? It was cool in Tenkaichi 3, and I feel like it worked. I'm pretty sure you can do it in Tenkaichi 2 on the Wii as well. But on the Switch for Xenoverse, the game's so fast, and it's all real-time combat that I just feel like it's not going to work out very well. You do get Goku Black and all the pre-order stuff that you got with the original version, with the Switch version, so that's cool. But, you know, I want to take a look at this because I thought it was interesting. I love talking about games and technical stuff here. It's one of the few chances I get to do it on the channel. I know it won't get a lot of views, but the people that do watch it, you know, hopefully they do enjoy it. I also want to take this opportunity to say I was right. On the original Switch video, I had a lot of people. Granted, we didn't know a whole lot about the Switch yet, but what we knew, I could pretty much dissect what Xenoverse was going to be like on the Switch. A lot of people were saying it's not going to get changed and that I'm underestimating the power of the Switch and that I don't know what I'm talking about and all sorts of things. I was right. Let's just take an opportunity to think about that. No, I was happy when I saw stuff to realize, like, whew, a good prediction, finally. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the Switch version. It's pretty disappointing again to see. The biggest thing here I feel like is the 30 frames per second for the majority of the play. I mean, when you're going to be doing 1v1s and ranked and player matches, you're good. But just the majority of the time, it's just going to be 30 FPS, which is a pretty big disappointment. And hopefully you can keep those frame rates that they're targeting stable. We'll have to see. What do you guys think of the Switch version? Are you picking it up? Do you really care about playing Xenoverse on the Switch anymore after you saw Fighter Z? I mean, I think the hype for this kind of died down, even though there wasn't a lot of hype, but no one really talks about it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Other than that, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Again, check out that previous video if you want to see exactly what I said before. I think I was pretty spot on. And other than that, catch you guys later.